I just get so excited about like splitting peanut butter cups with her. Because we just have fun. We do a little cheers. We get excited.
Aw, that's
Like-
so
Oh my god,
like-
that's really
like-
cute.
They're so cute. It's like annoyingly cute.
How do you support your significant other when they're sad?
That's not heavy.
Well, I don't know. For me, it's quite difficult. It's been difficult because me and my wife are such opposites in like everything.
David and I too.
You know, like
Polar
everything. We
opposites.
our love language is very different, and you know, it's hard to gauge sometimes when she needs more this, more like coddling and support in your face kind of thing, and when she just needs to be left alone with time. So like for me, the last 5 years, like trying to find that balance has been, you know, difficult. I think I'm better at it now than I used to be because I used to sort of like try to love her the way that I like to be loved instead of like listening to what she needs and what she probably needs based on this particular situation. So I think nowadays I just really try to gauge, you know, like what the specific situation is, or if it's, you know, ask questions, you know, like, do you want to talk about it? What is it? And then I can kind of like do the math in my head. Leave that alone for now. Go get her a cupcake, you know, or, you know, I need to be close to her and I need to like give her a massage, or, you know, like it kind of varies. But just kind of trying to find that balance of, you know, and like also within finding that balance, kind of not being afraid to try things and not being afraid to be wrong, you know, because it's not the end of the world just yet, you know. So when you just, you know, try something, that's like, okay, cool. That's, you know, I knew it should have been over here, but you know, and I think that's also just like a male female thing in some regards too. So like,
Oh gosh, that one's like I'm so glad that you went first because we're newlyweds. We're like we got married on the 27th of December, and so it's like we're learning all of these things, and I'm learning that I need to be more patient with not just myself but with him, and to, you know, because I was a single parent for so long. I have that like nurturing, that like I want to make sure everything is fine and take care and blah blah blah, but he doesn't need that. So I mean,
We all need
a
that.
balance of it, right? Like a balance. But I think we're still very much learning all of these things. So it's because, and it's so interesting because we did live together for, how long did we live together? Like a year and a half before we got married. And I thought, oh, we're gonna be fine. Even though it's a piece of paper, it does something, right?
Yeah, you take
It
you
does
take on more
something.
responsibility.
And even for me, like after, you know, I do and all of that, it just I kept saying, oh, it doesn't feel different, it feels fine, blah blah blah. And then after a while I was like, oh snap, like there's a lot of work I need to do on myself to be able to be more balanced in this relationship. And it's, you know, we're both, it's a very much like a balancing, negotiating sort of
No, I agree with you.
You know?
I agree with you.
so yeah, like we're in that phase, and at one point I'm like, oh, we're fine, everything, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden we get something and I'm like, what? No. It's something like, wait a second. And it just makes you question all these things. And then you come back and then you're with them and you're like, that's why we're together. It's like we're whole. Like not that we're not whole without that other person. It's just like this.
It truly feels like a partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like constant working. But we're new at it, you know? So.
Yeah. I feel like what I learned recently, and the reason why I asked this is because I realized that I don't ever see David when he's at his lowest, because David just tends to be this like overall positive person. I've seen it a couple times, but then I felt like, okay, I was always there, I was very supportive, and I put my feelings to the side. But recently, I don't know what it was, but I realized that I feel like I'm like a walking like basket case where I'm just like full of emotions, and I'm an empath. So like if I'm surrounded by people who are maybe toxic, right, it affects me and it'll ruin my day. If I wake up in the morning and I don't get enough
There's a reason
sleep.
why we're all actors.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a ton of bricks hits you and you're like, why am I so sad?
And I can tell that with him, if he knows I'm waking up on the wrong side of the bed, I didn't get enough sleep or something, I can tell like he's being strong for me. And then recently I had talked to him and I said, when you are feeling down, when you're feeling sad, if you're having a hard day at work, I want you to feel open. Like, talk to me. I want to hear it. Even if you think I don't want to hear it. Like, I want to hear it.
Sure.
You know,
See,
because I want to know that you're okay too.
Here's the thing. I can't speak for David, but like for me, I had a hard time with that too, because when I tend to feel things where I'm just sad or whatever, the emotions are going up and down, I tend to need to be alone with like some type of music, some type of sunset, like the beach. There's certain spiritual things that I do that I need to cleanse myself with, you know. But I don't want to talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
And I, being in my relationship for 5 years and hearing what you just said has kind of like pushed me over into the like, even though I don't want to talk about it, it may be beneficial to her and to our relationship if I just take off the mask for like a second and just let you know, at least let you know that there's something there.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
But that's better than just kind of, everything's fine, everything's great, I got it.
And especially if you notice that she's having a bad day, you tend to, okay, I gotta be strong for her because she's feeling down. And I feel like he does that a lot for me.
That's the default.
We, in the first, I'd say maybe just under a year into our marriage, had like huge blowout fight. Totally my fault. 100% me. It was me holding a lot of pent up emotion, not communicating things, and like just tiny little things over and over and over again. And finally, the dumbest thing happened, and I blew up, and I eviscerated Amelia. I was horrifically rude to her, verbally abusive, and we ended up in therapy, which we knew we needed anyway. Because we grew up in such different households, our language, like our love language, is very different. The way we speak to each other, even though it's very loving, at the time, it was very different, working on different levels. And so we were in therapy for close to a year and a half, almost 2 years. I wish we were still in it, not for any particular reason, but just because it's nice to have it like hour a week.
It's maintenance.
But that's actually one of the reasons, like, kind of why we started our podcast, is that we had like guaranteed time to talk to each other about stuff, life, career, our marriage, our daughter.
Just you two talking instead of like, it's just once you have a kid, it's like always about the kid, the kid, 100% of the time. So it's good that you guys have.
And so we through therapy developed the tools to communicate, to be supportive. Because one of the things that I do, because of how I was raised, is I will drag you kicking and screaming wherever the heck we have to go. Top of the hill, cross that river, I will drag you. I will drown, but you're crossing. So help me God. That's not helpful always in a relationship. to be the one that's going to contain and push and move, or not contain, but to like push and manage the other person. Because you end up giving up a lot of yourself into it. But at the same time, the other person has no agency. You've taken away their agency and you've told them how you're going to fix them, or you're fixing them. They don't need to be fixed. They're grown. And so for me, I burn through emotion really quickly, burn through it really hot, then I'm good. I'm done. Like, it's like, we've had disagreements about something. I'll get really heated, and then Amelia will be like angry and like burning on it for like the next 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, like walk the dog, and like I'm good. But we have learned to like meet in the middle there, so that I am more patient with what I'm saying. I'm more considerate, like you said. But at the same time, I'm serving the relationship with how I'm communicating, and not myself, not her.
Yeah.
And that middle ground moves back and forth between you constantly. And it's the negotiation, it's the conversation. And our therapist said, like, you're a vessel for each other. Your job is to contain them, to hold them, and not to change them. Whatever you pour into a vessel takes the shape of that vessel. You know, like water finds its level, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like balance.
You just said like 3 T-shirts over,
Anthony.
bro. Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
just like,
serving
oh,
to serve the
so
relationship and not
profound.
I
myself.
see some branding.
Yeah.
We all have our drama. We all have not just drama, but trauma. We're all scarred, and we all carry that into everything we do. So sometimes somebody wounds us, and it's not them; it's them reminding us of a wound that we have.
Yeah.
So we attack because we remember that pain, and now we can do something about it. And sometimes when Amelia's sad, I'm like, I'm gonna fix this problem. I'm not fixing anything for her. I'm fixing it for me, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I do to try to keep her from being sad is just like listen, and not just listen to what she's saying, listen to how, like, feel how she's feeling. Because Amelia, you guys know her a little bit better. You don't really know her very well at all, but she's the most optimistic, most positive person. Like, the worst thing can happen to Amelia, positive. Everything.
That's literally David too.
Unflinchingly happy.
Yeah.
David and Amelia.
Because she also doesn't want to
You're
be
the
sad
David
for
and
you.
Amelia.
She doesn't want you to have to fix anything for her, because she is so strong. She's so powerful. And that's the beauty of her optimism, is that it comes from strength and confidence, but even those people get hurt and lack in confidence. And so it's just like reminding her of her power. And I think that's a very long way of getting there, of saying, like, reminding her that she will always be like my bride, not just like my wife, but like the person I'd walk down the aisle again for. She's always my girlfriend. Like, I want to be dating her. And reminding her,
I
like,
Date you, bro.
yeah.
Still trying to date you. Okay, since I am getting married next year, what is your secret to a good marriage?
I'll give you 3 things in one package. There's 2 things that I used to say all the time when I was dating, and definitely dating my wife, but also just dating before my wife too, because I feel like it all kind of led, if you're going to get somewhere, it's leading to the same place. One thing was fight for the fairy tale. You know, everybody wants like this fairy tale marriage, this fairy tale relationship, this thing, but like people don't often work at that, or like even take the time to try to understand what that means.
I mean,
And
that's what I
so-
noticed. A lot of people are so easy to just say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
I quit. Instead of like actually putting in the work
It's work.
to make it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and like fighting for the fairy tale goes into the next thing that I was going to say, is one thing that me and my wife would talk about before we got married. Like, you know, let's save our marriage today. We weren't married yet. You know, and we'd be like, hey, let's save our marriage today. You know, like, let's talk about the things that need to be talked about, and not like in a sort of like start and end, but like open the conversation, you know, like keep the good communication going, open it up instead of like trying to get somewhere. Like, let's go down this long traveling road. And so yeah, like those 2 things, fighting for the fairy tale, for me, that means a different thing to her. So it also goes with listening. What does her fairy tale look like? That's time and investment that I'm doing, and vice versa, and not trying to love you the way that I want to be loved, but the way that you want and feel like you need to be loved. That's where commitment comes in. But saving the marriage, whatever that is, whether it's therapy, whether it's talking, whether it's spending more time, whatever these love languages are that need to sort of meet and meet and meet and meet again, you need to commit yourself to doing that with the other person. And
it's constantly
Brain
working on it.
yes,
Constantly
absolutely.
working
Thank
because
you
you
just pulled
can
it right out of my
because
head.
you can get through one thing and then all of a sudden you get something else and you're like, oh my god, we just got through this and now it's this.
Yeah.
But it's constantly working on it and knowing that you love that other person to the point where you want to continue having that person on that journey with you,
Exactly.
right?
I think an important thing in a relationship, because we talk about the other person a lot, is forgive yourself for when you have failings. Don't be preoccupied with needing to be punished for your failings by the other person. Like if you feel like you've wronged David, acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Make sure he's cool with it, and then you don't need to be a martyr.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of relationships, like that's where they're, like people, like I always say to Amelia, because of that one big first blowout, I'm gonna work that off the rest of my life. I don't like really fixate on that, but that's something that will always be in my head because it's just like how gross that argument was. But knowing that they're just as good and just as bad, they're just as flawed and just as perfect as you are, and holding yourself to the same standard you hold them. So if you're going to forgive them for a mistake, you have to forgive yourself.
But the forgiveness thing, this is something that I always tell people who come to me for advice. I don't know why I didn't think of that first, but because I'm married, like I always say, it sounds silly to some, but it's true. I try, and I say I try because we'll see what actually happens in life. But before I married my wife, I'd already forgiven her for things that haven't transpired.
Yeah.
And people go like, "Oh, well, this is really mature." But I mean, I just feel like, how do you commit yourself to somebody for the rest of your natural life, their natural life, and you think that person's not going to evolve and change into somebody else?
Yeah.
That's like almost like I can't. That's impossible to me. So before I decided I was going to marry this woman, I'd already forgiven her for like the woman she's going to be 10 years from now that I might not agree with. The woman, like I have there's a line in the sand here, and we both know what those are. If you ever go down this path, it's unforgivable. I can't do it. That's when I'm like.
But you know where that line is.
Oh yeah, I know exactly where that
was a
there's
choice.
a few of those. You're like,
this is the line, and but a lot of things that a lot of people get divorced over all the time, I'm like, I already forgave her for that, and it hasn't happened yet. It may never happen. Hopefully, it never happens. But like, that's how I view my marriage. I'm not, So that's also why things don't tend to get me as upset, because I'm like, well, we're talking about these. We're not even talking about those. And I've already forgiven her for those. So I'm not gonna argue with you about this because I can't.
What's the best part about being together?
I think the best thing is when Amelia does something for me that takes me by surprise, and that is simple, or that as I try to make a regular habit of getting her flowers, and she receives it as though I'm getting her flowers like on our first date every time. Like they just like the joy that we take in the simple things that aren't big, like it's what allows me to know that this is like it. Is that like I just get so excited about like splitting peanut butter cups with her because we just have fun. We do a little cheers. We get excited.
Aww, that's
like,
oh my god, that's really cute.
They're so cute. It's like annoyingly cute.
That's annoyingly cute.
But like that's
You forced me to want a chip with guacamole.
But that's
Thank you, man.
But that's like those. I think that's the best part is And that's the most exciting thing is like I look forward to sitting next to my wife in silence.
When we go to bed
Mm-hmm.
and he's holding me,
Mm-hmm.
and we wake up and he's holding me, and maybe I'll wake up randomly in the middle of the night and he's holding me. That is the best.
Aw.
It's the best. It's like,
Are you always a little spoon?
dude.
It's a fair question.
My wife's 5 foot. I'm 5'10". She's the big spoon. Amelia will consistently hold me while we are sleeping. I might get into bed and I might hold her for a little bit, but she's definitely the big spoon.
No, he's definitely the, yeah. He is.
I,
Yeah, but that feeling, that
Yeah.
overwhelming feeling of just being in that space together creates this sort of just safe and love, and it's like this aura of love. So like we can be working all week and barely see each other, but we're holding each other at night, and that's just kind of like back to home,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
nice.
I know for me, I think it's the reason why I'm not crazy about Valentine's Day is because every day feels like Valentine's Day.
I said that and somebody went, ew. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm
Gross.
sorry, but it's true. When you find that special someone where, and like what you were saying, it's the simple things. You appreciate the little things, the little randoms, like he comes through the door and has flowers, or he's making you dinner, or you're making him dinner, or you're making him breakfast, like you're going to the gym together. Like it's those little moments where I just like think to myself, wow, I'm so lucky. And he's lucky too.
Sure, I like you, girl.
Yeah.
I love, like, when a romance has a really great relationship, like friendship, something I always say, like, I love
I thought he was
being-
going toward Twilight again for a second.
No, it's not Twilight that time, but that's a good example of friendship,
See?
I love being my wife's friend. I love the fact that we're friends. I love the fact that, everyone knows a handful of relationships and a handful of marriages, and and you hear what people talk about and complain about. And I feel so fortunate that I love sitting and talking with my wife. Like, I talk to her like my friend. And I think and hope and have faith that, when it's all said and done, our relationship will have been successful because, we have such a great friendship. And I love talking to her. I love sitting in silence with her, which is really hard to do if you know my wife, and you know my wife.
But isn't that
She's a
the
talker.
best,
I'm a
best,
talker
though.
too.
Yeah.
But like sitting in
I'm
silence.
a talker too, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just the best when you
It's
can
the
just sit
best,
in silence, and
you know?
it's not dead space where it like feels awkward or anything
Yeah.
like that. Okay, what are we toasting?
To the four of us. Tomorrow there'll be more of us. Singing